overload on communication. It happens almost daily for a lot of us. Just your cell phone alone, let alone responding back to people on email or whatever other medium that you're using. Part of it is we have to learn how to control our inbox, get rid of spam in the process, understand that email is business writing. So when you sit down and take care of email, focus in on it in the process. Check your email and set times twice a day, typically once in the morning and once in the afternoon. If otherwise, you will be consumed by doing nothing but responding to emails. There's a couple of tricks that we have, but the very first one and the most basic is hit your emails first thing in the morning and then first thing in the afternoon, and that's it. Let people know sometimes if there's something urgent, call. Do something different than email. If you otherwise, email can sit down and keep you busy nonstop as you go through. Let your coworkers know about your schedule before responding. Apply a thing called the 2-minute rule. Somebody sends you an email and you can resolve it within 2 minutes, do it. Then at that moment, don't pause, don't go past go, do it within that 2 minutes and get that monkey off your back. Make certain people understand that if they give you something short and easy to handle, you'll handle it right then. Otherwise, the process may linger for days in the process of responding back to them to get them all done in the process. So down editing too really helps an awful lot. By down editing, what you do, your response is see below. Then you go down to their message and you go back and respond to each question they have for each point on something with an email in a different font or a different color as you go through. So use their message to be your main basis to sit down and write your response with. So delete their heading, signature on all necessary parts, but use their initial request to you as the method you can respond back to them. Use different colors especially, that helps the other person respond better. Don't write if another channel is better. Email, use it for really good, solid communication tools. Once again, it's really a bad communication to convey emotion on. Really, email should be primarily a conveyor of information as you go through. When you write an email, always have a compelling subject line so people know what you're talking about at that moment. Otherwise, they're going to sit there and wonder and have to scroll through 3 or 4 sentences trying to figure out what you're trying to say as you go through. So scan all emails, especially those from the same person, and try to answer within 24 hours or say when you will. Respond back to them. That way you'll get some kind of intelligent response and you won't get somebody angry because you're researching something and it took you 2 days to find the answer. You say, I'll get back to you after research the following. And just like that, one simple response, one sentence, and you're done. At least they're not sitting there worried about, did you ever get the email? They need to know that. Give them that security in the process and practice the down editing as you go through. On emails, start with the main idea, use headings and lists. Lists really help you in the process of 1 bullet point, 2 bullet point, 3 bullet point, you're done. Okay, that way they know exactly what's being done. I want to do it in order, go 1, 2, 3, point number 1, point number 2, and that way they know what sequence that you're following. Always make certain you have some adequate. Obtain approval before forwarding. Sometimes people send stuff out and they don't realize it's part of an entire email chain, or maybe they don't care, except for the fact that if somebody's offended, then they become caring. So that being said, get approval before you forward an email. Do you mind if I share this with so-and-so? Email really is not a good tool to have humor and sarcasm. People can easily misunderstand them, either from the context or they're on edge that particular morning. Be careful about that on email as you go through. Soften the tone. Always do the typical memo sandwich of a friendly opening and closing, and never write in all caps. It's like shouting, and people, no matter what happens, they get responses like that when they read the email. In closing, make certain, end with due date, step to be taken, or a friendly remark. Make certain you go through and check your email for readability. Proof it, and sometimes you may have to add 1 or 2 words, and sometimes you may want to just not send it until the next day and let your emotional moment drift away overnight with sleep. In the morning, you come back in on a really tough email, and all of a sudden you realize, I really shouldn't say this. So always double check before hitting send. Don't be like that one individual who sent out an email to me of a really sensitive matter that was really negative on his part, and boom, 108 people get it inadvertently. Double check before you push that send button. Here's 10 email mistakes that can really damage your career. And sometimes that damage can last for years afterwards when you try to recover. Don't respond when you're angry. Okay, I baited people myself in the process, and they respond when they're angry, and it's great entertaining if you're a troll. Okay, but that being said, if you're the one that's responding, you look like a fool, and sometimes you never stop looking like a fool in the process. Making address goofs. Sometimes, I don't know about you, a couple times I got people with the same first name and occasionally some with the same last name. You type something in and you're sending something, and the person says, "What's this?" Okay, so watch address groups. You may send the wrong thing to the wrong person and be sorry you did it. Forgetting to change the subject line or failing to change it to match the thread, because you get something in the middle of something, you have no idea what you're getting when you get a response back sometimes. And make certain you try to personalize your message. Try to be nice in the very first line as you go through. That really helps. Don't include inappropriate content, especially off-color jokes. If you do a social media post like that, it can go on for a long time and damage your career that way. But don't put inappropriate content. Frankly, in my role in human resources, I've had to deal with people like that. A couple terminations resulted because they're posting inappropriate things, typically some type of sexually vulgar reference in the process, but sometimes it could be racial or whatever, or somebody decides to make it a racial or whatever as you go through. Don't forget, check your email for spelling and grammar. We talked about the response of people as to when they see a typo, they think poorly of you and your company. Don't do that. Don't think that no one else will ever see your email. Make the assumption that your email could be published on the local newspaper front page for the whole world to see. If you operate that way, your life will be better. Don't copy and forward recklessly. You'll damage long-term relationships as you go through the process. And then also go through and have completing the two-line first. I always write the email first, and then when I'm all done with the email, then I add it who is going to. And don't expect an instant response as you go through. That's a big deal because you're sitting there waiting. Find a different pathway for email. But all of us were plagued by an overload on communication. Digital communication sure might be a nice thing for getting the world to move faster, but really can be very difficult for us as human beings because sometimes you want to take a breath of fresh air because we're overloaded on communication. Take care.